there are many myths about Jesus. In these programs, we're talking to some experts who can help us get at the facts behind the myths. One myth is that we can't believe the Bible's accounts of Jesus because they're full of miracles. He walks on water, he raises the dead, and so on. But we know from science that things like that don't happen.
It's very true that for many modern readers, the biggest problem in coming to the Gospels and other parts of the Bible as well are the stories of the miraculous, of the apparently supernatural. There are all kinds of ways to respond. The philosophers of science today are much more modest in the claims they make than even a half century ago, recognizing that science by definition is the investigation of the repeatable, that which can be set up through laboratory experiments, replicated, tests done over and over again, results verified or disconfirmed. A miracle, a once-of-a-kind event, by definition, is outside of the realm of that kind of investigation.
One of the arguments that's been put against miracles very strongly a couple of hundred years ago was by David Hume, where on miracles he argues that these things are always less probable than the alternative. It's always more probable that there's been some garbled message that's come through rather than this actually happened. And he says the amount you should believe something is proportionate to the relative frequency that you experience. That seems a powerful argument, but in fact there are some presuppositions behind it. And one of those presuppositions is your whole view about the universe. That is, miracles, if you believe there is no God in the universe, become infinitesimally improbable, or infinitely improbable. You know, they just are extremely unlikely. On the other hand, if you believe that there is a God, and God is the God of the Jews, and he has worked amazing things in the past, then is it improbable that miracles are really true when they occur in connection with Jesus? It's not very improbable at all. So your starting point defines how you judge the probability of something.
On the other hand, miracles may not be quite so unusual as many people imagine. Craig Keener, a brilliant New Testament scholar, has published recently a 2-volume collection on miracles in which he analyzes questions about their credibility in general, the ancient accounts in the Bible and in the Gospels, but then presents somewhere between 400 and 500 of the most documented, verified accounts of instantaneous healing, demon possession, the occasional resurrection, 1 or 2 instances apparently of being able to walk through overly wet places without getting wet. These come from every continent on our planet. These are recent, not just ancient. These are cross-cultural. They are Western, they are Eastern, they are Northern, they are Southern. And out of literally thousands that he and various helpers collected, he ruthlessly eliminated all but the most documented of accounts. And you explain it however you want, but in each case, as a result of concerted prayer by Christian people, something that science cannot explain happened. That suggests that there is very much empirical evidence for the kind of thing we see in the Bible happening in other places as well.
So if we think of Carl Sagan's saying that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, that seems right to a lot of people, but it's actually very subjective, because who defines what is extraordinary? From an atheist point of view, within their worldview, a miracle is extraordinary. Within a point of view of a Jewish worldview, when you believe that God has already done things in the past, it's extraordinary that he does something again, in the sense that it's unusual for humans, but it's not extraordinary for him. So what I'd like to say is our judgment of the probability of a miracle depends on our overarching worldview. And what atheists often expect is they expect a Christian to provide a level of evidence for a miracle that works within a atheist worldview. And I want to say, no, that isn't necessary. Because the Christian worldview is a worldview we take as a whole, we want a level of evidence for a miracle which is works within the worldview itself. So what I'd say is there are other reasons for believing the Christian worldview to be right, and within those, the miracles of Jesus have a sufficient probability.
The myth is that we can't believe the Bible's accounts of Jesus because they're full of miracles. And we know from science that miracles can't happen. But science is about what happens normally, events that we can repeat in a laboratory. It doesn't say anything about unique events that we can't repeat. If you've already made up your mind that there's no God, no amount of evidence is likely to persuade you that a miracle has happened. But if you think there could be a God, you're more likely to look at the evidence with an open mind. Next time, we'll look at the historical evidence that Jesus did miracles.